You land on the shore of Galapagos to begin an extensive exploration of the beauty and biodiversity in Darwin's journey. Thank you for joining us today at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Darwin's Journey is a 1 to 4 player worker placement game that plays in about 1 to 2 hours and is by the same designers of the game Newton.
Thundergryph Games is bringing it to Kickstarter, and they sent us this prototype to look at.
Now, throughout the game, you'll be following the HMS Beagle and recalling Charles Darwin's adventures on the Galapagos Islands.
The game has a main game board with worker placement spots near the top. Most of these are on diary pages. Then there are islands for your explorers to travel to trigger rewards, and a water route for your ship to sail along to gain bonuses.
Players have their own boards to hold their pieces and track their achievements and research. Here's a super quick overview of Darwin's Journey. There are 5 rounds in the game, and each round has 4 phases: action, turn order, reward, and cleanup. After 5 rounds, whoever has the most points wins.
And during the actions phase, players will take turns by placing one of their workers onto a spot and taking the action. The wax seals in each worker's row determine which action spaces that worker can activate. This worker can't take the exploration action if it doesn't have any green seals or purple seals, which are wild.
The action spaces are different shapes and sizes to indicate how many workers can be in a space and whether or not you have to pay coins to take an action if other workers are there.
The exploration action lets you move one of your explorers up to a certain number of spaces and take the reward where it ends its movement. If you end on one of these tiles, you get to place a research token on the associated specimen. This is important for other actions and scoring.
The navigation action lets you move your ship up to a certain number of spaces. Some spaces have rewards. Here, you can take a tent from your board and place it at a campsite to gain the rewards.
The correspondence action lets you place your stamps in one of the letter areas. You'll get bonuses in the reward phase for having majorities in these areas. You also get bonuses for depleting stacks of letters on your player board.
The Academy action lets you purchase more seals for your workers.
There are several other action spaces that don't require your workers to have seals, like where you determine turn order, gain new objective tiles, and the action spaces in the museum area. You can deliver specimens you've researched to the museum if the tile isn't already there. You'll gain benefits based on the tile's row and column, coins for spaces without tiles, and movement on the theory of evolution track for spaces that already have tiles.
The other action in the museum lets you research a specimen that already has a tile in the museum. This is really important for completing research objectives.
Some action spaces are locked at the beginning of the game. You can go to the Unlock Lens action to add your lens token to a locked space. You have to pay the cost, and in most areas you have to unlock from top to bottom. Once a space is unlocked, any player can take that action. But if another player takes the action where your lens is, then you get a coin from the supply.
Players keep taking actions until they've used all their workers, and then you move to the next phase where you're going to change the turn order up.
The third phase is the reward phase, and you start with the correspondence rewards. For each area, the player with the most and second most stamps get a reward. Then they discard half of their stamps.
The other area that scores is the HMS Beagle goal tile. The Beagle sails to a new spot each round and activates a new goal tile and tracks what round you're on.
Now, the goal tiles are randomly selected at the beginning of the game, but they are placed face up so you can plan ahead for those different goals.
Each player will score the goal, but if your ship is too far behind Darwin's Beagle, you'll lose some points.
The final phase in the round is cleanup. You'll move the Beagle, collect your workers, and reset some of the elements on the board.
After the 5th round, you'll perform some final scoring, and the player with the most points is the winner. Your player board has several areas of final scoring. The final 2 wax seal spots on a worker's row are worth points, and building all your tents is also worth points.
You can gain a lot of endgame points by fulfilling objectives during the game. When you meet the requirements, you flip the tile face down in one of your objective slots. Some slots are just worth endgame points, and others give you a combination of bonuses during the game and endgame points.
The other part of final scoring is the theory of evolution track. Different actions and rewards will allow you to move up the track during the game. The final position of your token on the track will give you a multiplier. The score you're multiplying is 2 plus 1 for each row in the museum that is full of tiles. So that will range from 2 to 6 base points depending on how well the players delivered specimens to the museum.
There are a lot of directions you can go in this game with interlocking aspects of needing to do this thing to be able to take advantage of something else.
Now, I think this is a hallmark of some of the games designed by Simone and Nestor. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Newton, but with a lot more going on.
Yeah, for example, you need those wax seals to upgrade your workers to be able to take more powerful actions and to unlock some bonuses, but you also need money to be able to purchase and place some of those seals.
We haven't even mentioned the crew cards, which also influence the seals you're getting. You get several at the beginning of the game, and if you have a worker with the matching seals, you can activate the card to get the reward.
Making the most out of every action is really important in this game. When you move your explorer or ship, can you end your movement on a beneficial spot? Are you going for money, which is really important, but hard to get? Are you going to try to research specimen? Or maybe place a tent, which is going to give you other rewards? There's also rewards for being the first to reach certain areas.
I was able to go for the correspondence rewards, which gave me some benefits. One of them was moving the explorer, which giving me benefits during the reward phase.
Yeah, that snuck up on me a little bit because there were a few times that Kevin was able to grab some bonuses that in my mind I thought I might be able to get in the next round. But that specific reward might not even be in every game. There's a ton of variability in the randomly selected items like the correspondence rewards, the Beagle Goal tiles.
The special action tiles?
Yes, the placement of where the specimen tokens are, the crew cards, the objective tiles, and more. No two games are going to be exactly the same.
We were playing with a prototype, so some of the design may change, but the components and art fit the theme well with the diary and hand-drawn elements.
As you look at the board, it seems like there are lots of options and paths you can take, but the game is fairly restrictive based on the amount of money you have to take those actions and the seals that your workers have. I think some players will really enjoy the challenge of that tightness of the game, but I think other players are going to find it maybe a little too punishing and restrictive.
You need to plan ahead, but also be able to adapt. If you like tight, thinky Euro games with a lot of variability, like the science-y history theme, then check out Darwin's Journey coming from Thundergryph Games on Kickstarter this January.